Hi, good morning, folks. While scrolling through YouTube, I saw an adult performance by a rising female singer. It is very interesting because it maximizes sexuality to increase value of her content. At every step, her actions and expressions mimic an orgasmic state with sexually suggestive or sexually indicative actions. This is not the only woman doing it. Internet is filled with such content of women sexualizing themselves and other women for fame, money, but most importantly, to fuel and satisfy their own sexual desires. In a few cases, it is so evident that many attempts of women to portray other women and themselves mirror the same sexual aspects that would cause any man to be labeled as predatory and serial objectifier. Yet society and women themselves are not appalled to be part of that parade, as long as they feel certain benefit arising out of it. For women and society, objectification of women is not a moral issue. It is an issue of maximizing its value. When women feel that they are being objectified or used without adequate remuneration, that is when they begin to lash back at the system and the so-called perverted men. This is more evident in drastic attempts by women in society to label sexualization and objectification as predatory when it is non-consensual. That is surprising because sexualization and objectification itself does not require consent unless it is accompanied by a harmful action. And therefore, to achieve the intended effect, the society and women must feel damaged and assaulted by even actions like comments, gaze, and even thoughts. Imagine a woman wearing a low-cut top. Even though she is flaunting her breasts, the expectation of women in society is that her dignity and humanity must be maintained. For dignity and humanity is unrelated in their minds to sexual conduct or self-sexualization for women. It is related to the perverted thought, which reduces the woman to object of sexual pleasure. But even that is a lie, for the problem arises only when a woman feels exploited because of it. And that occurs when she feels she overall does not benefit from the comments, gaze, or thoughts of men sexualizing her. When the women feel that they are benefiting out of it, then obviously if they so desire, they will not call it non-consensual, enabling further trade in that aspect. This solves a deep puzzle. People, especially in so-called civilized societies, don't hate vulgarity or perversion. What they hate is it leading to harm to women in some way. Thus the man is always a predator for his role, as defined by society, and as expected by women, is not to partake in sexual actions, but in acquiring a woman. Thus the man is always a predator, for his role, as defined by society and as expected by women, is to not partake in sexual actions, but in acquiring a woman. Here, what men must realize is that their desire for modesty is not a value-based demand, but a trap, which penalizes what is specifically expected from them. Thus, men need not fully work to acquire women, lest they be seen predatory, even if their sexuality is directed towards more provocative and vulgar women. They must learn to use sexuality as a tool, just like women do. Once men realize that sexuality is also a tool, they can cross over the manipulative dignity versus sexuality trap and use sexuality as both the sword and shield against the predatory world.